Hello and welcome to this quick tip video to show you a new function, or not a new function, but a function that may be new to you and how you can start using it in your Excel work today. And obviously why it's a useful one to start using. So what we're going to be looking at is drop-down lists, or data validation as it's known in its selectable option. The reason it's a good function to use is it allows us to enter, or drop down lists do allow us to enter specific values that we want to be used when filling in data. So this could mean enforcing that only one of three values are available. So this could be, in our example we're going to look at in a minute, is understanding people's attendance to an event that will be happening. So obviously for such an event you want to only know if they are going to be coming or if they will not be coming. So this is particularly useful, one, for if you're having multiple people fill out this form. It ensures that there are no spelling mistakes or no one's putting in any values that deviate from the two options that you really need. What's obviously crucial if you're trying to do some reporting on this, or if you have any calculations that are going to be running on that piece of information. So in order to add a drop-down list to our data, we first have to select the range in which we want to have the drop-down. So for our example here, we've selected rows 2 to 5 of column B. You could select the whole column B, or you can select multiple other rows, but for this simple example we're just looking at these 4 ones here. So we've now selected those 4 cells. So what we're going to do to enter our drop-down list is go to the Data tab and look for and find an option called Data Validation. So it might appear slightly different on your screen depending on what version of Excel you are using. But what you need to find is, like I say, the data validation option, and once you do, you just click that option. What you'll then get is you'll be presented with a pop-up box like this, and ignore the other bits for the time being, as we're predominantly just looking at the drop-down list. If you want us to go into more detail of any of these options we are going to briefly look at, please drop us a comment below and let us know, and we'll make sure we make a video. For our example, we're going to click this first drop-down list, and we're going to select the option of list. So you can see there's multiple other options we can have here. So we can enforce whole numbers, decimals, dates, what can be enforced by putting in the minimum or maximum date you want. So they have to enter a date within that range, and a couple of other options we have there as well. So we're just going to select list for our example. The next part, we don't need to worry about that, and it's grayed out so we can't utilize it. And then source is the values that we want to be using in this drop-down, or the only values that will be available. We can link this to a range to auto-select and populate from a range of data we have elsewhere, what could contain those values. But we're going to do the most simple option here, where you can just type it in. What, in our scenario of having an accepted or declined option, is all you really need to do. You don't need to get too technical with that. So to import our options, we basically type them in. So the first one is going to be declined, because we're talking about if someone can attend an event. So we've got declined, and the other option being accepted. Cool. So what this will mean is, in this column of B, the only two values that can be selected is one or the other, being either declined or accepted. So having put those two values in there, we can now click OK. And then what you'll find is, if you now click on one of our cells over in this range, and it did actually just pop up on the screen, you now have this option to drop down. So in order to populate it, you click the drop down and you can see our one of two options, declined and accepted. So if you are populating this, or someone else is doing it for you, or it's a shared workbook where multiple people are going in, they can just populate the information they need. And as we touched on, this is a great way to ensure that the values are entered correctly, no spelling mistakes, or people adding in something else like a maybe. What's obviously crucial if you're trying to do some reporting, or if you have any additional formulas that are depending on one of these options to do something else. Oh, and we'll just maybe we'll try and get that to do that later. Do ignore that. Oh, and ignore that one as well. Cool. So that's our options. What we can do is, if we suddenly decide that we do want to add another option, all we simply do is highlight those cells that contain our current drop-down, go back to our data validation option, and you can see that it will now tell us, obviously, back to the screen we had. We've got the declined and accepted. So not that you would want to add this option, but if you did want to add another option, and the first one that comes to mind is the maybe, you just simply add a column at the end of where you left off, type in your new option you want, hit OK, and then you'll notice that that is now an available option in these drop downs. So it's there. And they will appear in a top to bottom order as you type them in. So if the first value you do is declined, then decline will be the first one that appears at the top of the list. And if you suddenly decide that you don't want to use this option anymore, or you want to get rid of it, you can simply do so by highlighting the range of cells, go into your data validation, and rather than now typing in an option or editing here, and it's worth noting if you wanted to reduce an option, you just delete it out. But to get rid of them, simply just hit the clear all button, what will remove all the validation, finalize by hitting OK, and you can notice your values are retained in there, but the drop downs are now gone. So you could resume with entering a different piece of information or just not using drop downs at all. Okay, we hope you found that short video useful, and this is something that you may not noticed was available in Excel before, or if you're aware of it, you've now got a bit more information to help you start using it. If you have any questions, as always, do drop us a comment below or reach out to us on our Facebook. Both links are in the description of this video. If you haven't already, please do subscribe and give this video a like. It's really appreciated, and we'll see you very soon in the next video.